Yeah. All right. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We got Rob in the building today. You want to say hello or something, or just sit there? All right. I'm gonna start recording the podcast now. Okay. One, two, three.
You're listening to Rex Sports Daily.
Wait, hold on. Stop that. I don't know what just happened. And real terrible too. Yeah, I think the cord is messed up. Let me try turning the gain down all the way.
You're listening to Rex Sports Daily, your source for a fresh new take on all the latest headlines from the world of sports.
Okay, that's a lot better. Apparently, the gain has to be down to almost like negative whatever. Okay, starting the recording all over. All right, one, two, three.
You're listening to Rex Sports Daily, your source for a fresh new take on all the latest headlines from the world of sports. And now, here's your host, George Bennett, featuring special guest, DSD lead correspondent, Robert Gluck.
I almost forgot that Robert Gluck part was coming. I was about to start talking. I was surprised. I was so used to just like it ending right there after my name. But welcome to the show, everybody. Today is April 10th, 2017. As you heard, we got Robert Gluck with us today. How's it going, Rob? Anytime, man. Uh, well, the main thing we got to talk about today is the Masters. Is as much as you are tuned into the world of golf, Rob, I know you have tons of in-depth insight to give us on this one. Yeah, Tiger had to sit this one out along with Dustin Johnson, who had to withdraw after the first round. But Sergio Garcia ends up defeating Justin Rose in the playoff. Uh, he almost choked this one away right at the end, but ends up getting it done after 72 major tournaments without a win. He finally breaks through and wins. Sergio, he's been a story ever since '99 when he gave Tiger a nice little run for his money at the PGA Championship, and it's just been nothing but disappointment ever since for him. Pretty nice to see him finally break through and win one. What do you make of all this, Rob? Yeah. Yeah, I remember growing up, and this is just a testament to how long this drought has been for Sergio. I remember back when I was growing up, it was around the era of 2002 to 2007. So we're talking about 10, 15 years ago. We were constantly looking out there and trying to find out, okay, who's going to be that rival to challenge Tiger Woods and like compete on his level. And Tiger was just absolutely dominating the game through that stretch for, I'd say, about 97 to 2007. Just probably the most dominance we've ever seen in sports by anyone. Uh, and we were all, the writers out there were looking for, okay, who's going to be that rival to challenge Tiger? And you always heard about four names get brought up. Vijay Singh, who was always a little too old. Phil Mickelson, who just, while great in his own right, just wasn't at that level. Ernie Els, for some reason, was always thrown in that conversation. I don't know why. I think Ernie Els has maybe 3 majors in his career. I don't like he isn't that great. He's not on the level of these other guys. And then there was this one young guy who is not so young anymore. Sergio Garcia. He was like the phenom, the guy everybody was waiting to take that next step, breakthrough, win a Masters. And if like a lot of people thought this would probably be his like 3rd or 4th green jacket by now. Like if you had asked them back then, no one would have guessed it would have taken him till 2017 to win his first. With the way he was playing, the way he was competing with Tiger back in '99 at that PGA championship, coming in second to Tiger. And he's had so many close calls. I know 5 years ago in the Masters, he just said, okay, majors aren't for me. I can't get it done in majors. He literally said that. And he thought it was in his head after a while that he just could not do this. And for him to finally like break through and do it, it had to be like the moment of his life. And it you hate to see just someone fail that many times. I mean, it's why a lot of people were so excited about the Cubs finally breaking through and winning the World Series this past year. The Cavaliers winning. Like, hopefully my Lions can jump on the bandwagon with all this, but I doubt it. But hey, we're seeing a lot of these like long losing streaks just come to an end, and as a Lions fan, one can hope, right? But yeah, shout out to Sergio for getting it done. The guy we talked about on Friday briefly, Chase Hoffman. He was leading after the first round, Rob. Thanks for listening to the show. He ends up coming back, and he was competitive right up until the last round. But he ends up dropping, like, I think back to like 21st or something like that. Even though he held the lead throughout a good chunk of this tournament. So no big time story for him. Rory McIlroy, I know, fell apart late. Jordan Spieth, same thing. But both of them have respectable finishes in the top 10. What was that, Rob? Yeah, but when the name like his, you expect him to be like right there in it at the end, and he just wasn't. And like when you look at it, Justin Rose and Sergio Garcia were just 3 strokes ahead of the next closest guy. So I think McIlroy ends up finishing 6 strokes back, and Spieth finishes like 8. So. Yeah, I think golf probably more so than any sport comes down to actual athletic feats the least. In the sense that obviously you have to be athletic to play the sport of golf, but I think there isn't much differentiation between players as far as like how far one can drive the ball, how good one's putter is. I think that like golf has the least amount of differentiation in terms of actual athletic talent, and more so it's so much of a mental game uh, to an extent that I think almost no other sport is. I think a lot of this is in these guys' heads. Yeah, probably baseball is the closest. Yeah. Well, I think that's about all the Masters coverage we need. Let's move on to the hotly contested MVP talks. So, Russell Westbrook, obviously, last night got the record for most triple doubles in a season, an astounding 42, which is just absolutely incredible. Uh, Passes Oscar Robertson for the most ever in a season. It means he's had more games with a triple double than not having a triple double, which is just insane to think about. Like, I remember back when I was coming up, this was a rare thing for a guy to get a triple double. Like, it's not something that would happen even in the entire league every week. It was something that would happen like maybe once a month. One guy would do it, and we've obviously seen the most triple doubles in NBA history. I think LeBron has like 13 or something like that, which any other year would easily put him first. I think James Harden has like 22 or something. Um, but the real story I think from last night, I tweeted out James Harden throwing a solar eclipse level of shade last night, uh, saying it should be the MVP should be about winning. So, what are your thoughts on that, Rob? Yeah, as much as I like made the argument a few weeks back about Kawhi and like even potentially LeBron, like you can't not give it to Russell Westbrook. It's what he's done is insane. I don't think Harden has much of a argument here in the sense that he's just simply on a much better team. Uh, I don't think there's any comparing the Rockets and the Thunder. I think if you take James Harden off the Rockets, that's still a playoff team. Like with the way you got guys like Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, uh, Lou Williams, Patrick Beverly. Uh, like he's got a ton of talent around him, and given he plays in Mike D'Antoni's system, which lends itself to guards just putting up staggering numbers, like I think he's just another component in that system. Obviously, he's the biggest component, but I think if you put Russell Westbrook in there, he has a similar season, if not better. I'm gonna say that. Yeah, he came back to earth a bit. Yeah. No Jason Kidd triple doubles. He almost did one though. Yeah, I think he had like 12, 13, and 11 or something like that. And I think that was my biggest contention with Russell Westbrook is in games like that up until this point in the season, he was not getting it done in the big crunch time affairs like that. Like and then, well, you got to throw that out after the past couple weeks. So but given that the playoffs are now set in the Western Conference, all that's left to be determined is whether or not who's the 4 or 5 seed between Utah and LA. Right now, they're currently sitting tied with LA having the tiebreaker. But other than that, it's a bit of a shame that the MVP votes have to go in now because the Rockets and Thunder are actually playing each other in the first round. So it would be interesting to see what would happen if everyone could just hold off their votes until the second round of the playoffs and see what goes down with that matchup. Who do you see winning that 7-game series, Rob? Do you give the Thunder any chance at pulling that upset off? There's plenty of bad defense to erase with James Harden on the court too. I think we're gonna see numbers put up in this series like we've never seen before. Like there's gonna be a whole lot of eye-popping stats and stuff that plays well on Sports Center. But I think at the end of the day, I think Houston gets it done at 5. I don't see this going 6 or 7. I don't think Oklahoma City has the talent, like you said, especially on the offensive end of the court. And I don't see anybody who can defend all the weapons they have in the backcourt and all the weapons they have behind the 3-point line. It's like, who's guarding Trevor Ariza? Who's guarding Lou Williams? It's like Russell Westbrook's going to be expending all his energy on the offensive end, so you count him as probably a minus defender in this one. Patrick Beverly is probably going to be on him, so they could tell Pat Beverly, hey, just focus on slowing Westbrook down. You don't have to stop him. We know he's going to get his. Slow him down a little bit. Don't even worry about the offensive end because we have 3 other like great guards in Williams, Gordon, and Harden who can get it done on that end. And it's just too many weapons to defend. And OKC just, I don't think the talent's on that roster to get it done. Okay. I wanted to talk a little baseball on the show, and I'm working on a blog currently called "The MLB Sucks," and in the article I make several points. One of which is I think the that Major League Baseball does an absolute atrocious job of marketing its like star players. And I think Rob, as someone who like loosely follows sports, not the biggest baseball guy, I think you'd be one of the perfect people to illustrate this. I thought about this last night. How many young stars in baseball do you think you know or have heard of in some kind of way? Well, let me just name some guys who I think are highly marketable guys that just casual people don't know. They're not pop culture icons in the way NBA players are. It's like if you were to walk up to somebody on the street and ask them who's Stephen Curry, who's James Harden, who's a Russell Westbrook, like they know who those people are, but do they know who a Mike Trout is? Uh, he's still under 25 though. Like, yes, he's just. And how often do you see Mike Trout in like major like anything and to where you would get his face out there? Yeah. Yeah, Mike Trout is 25. He's already a two-time MVP, five-time All-Star. Uh, Won AL Rookie of the Year. Led the league in RBIs in 2014. Led the league in stolen bases in 2012. Is a member of the 30-30 club. 30 steals, 30 home runs. This is a guy who's just insane. Already has 120, 170 home runs in a very short career. And how often do you see him around? Yeah, you see Odell Beckham Jr. everywhere. Three now. Are you familiar with Chris Bryant? Yeah. so so that's a little bit of a step up. It's like he was the 2016 NL MVP, 2015 Rookie of the Year. So he's only been around two seasons in the majors. He's already gone to two All Star games, won a World Series championship in How often do you hear about him? Okay, how much do you know about Mookie Betts? Yes. He's one of the young stars for the Red Sox right now. If you're outside of New England, you don't follow baseball closely. You probably haven't heard of him. Noah Syndergaard. Noah Syndergaard is been rising in popularity. He's probably the best young starting pitcher in the majors. I saw a stat last night. He's thrown the highest number of pitches over 100 miles per hour since 2009. Yeah, and I think Justin Verlander was third on that list. Um, he plays for the Mets. He pitched last night, and that was the first time I had ever seen him live. And the guy has great stuff. A lot of his nickname is Thor. Because he has long flowing locks. Huh? Yeah. Jake Arrieta. Are you familiar with him? Yeah. One last guy, Manny Machado. Close. He's actually a three-time All-Star for the Boston Orioles at age 24. Or yes, sorry, the Baltimore Orioles. All of these guys are people who could easily like just be everywhere in the pop culture world, but just aren't for God only knows what reason. I think it comes down to just baseball just doesn't do a good job, and another point I want to make, it's not like anybody's being really marketed that well. It's like you don't hear about teams or like units from teams. It's like, okay, Rob, who has the best defense in baseball? And like, who are some of the better defenses in baseball? But I bet you could tell me like who some of the better offensive lines in football are. Exactly, and that's a point I made in the blog. It's like, why don't we hear about things like this? Like, I just think it all comes down to baseball not doing their job of promoting their sport. And think about this: 10, 15 years ago, you knew the names Sammy Sosa, you knew the names Mark McGuire, you knew Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, you knew all these guys. Like, and all these guys I named just now are on the track to becoming those sort of guys statistically and like in terms of impact on the sport. But in terms of pop culture, they're nowhere near. And what has happened? It's the same. It's the same thing. We're just in this sort of post Mitchell report, post steroids era, and baseball has not figured out how to properly position itself in pop culture. It's fallen so far. I think it was a solid number two behind football. I mean, obviously, like in our parents' generation, it was number one, but I think in our generation, it slid down to number two behind football. And like over the course of time, the NBA is past it, and I think hockey is on its tail. Like you got stuff like mixed martial arts. It's like how you've heard way more about like a Ronda Rousey than you have a Chris Bryant or a Mike Trout. I'm not exactly sure. It all like there are people with degrees in marketing and things like that that work for Major League Baseball that at this point it just has to be incompetence because I know they have the people in place who on paper can get this job done, but it just isn't getting done. I I have some proposed changes in the blog. I'll try to get it out later on today. So look for that. It will be out either today or tomorrow. And I think we'll probably discuss the content of it more on the show tomorrow. But that about wraps it up. Was there anything more that happened that you were aware of that we should bring up, Rob? Okay. I think that about does it for today's show. I want to thank everyone who tuned into the live stream. Again, we do live stream the show usually around 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you want to come in, chat with us, get your thoughts out there as we get ours. And But if you can't make it, it does get archived on the Direct Sports Daily YouTube channel. And it also posts as an MP3 on podcasting services like iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio. So I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. Thanks for coming on the show today, Rob. And we'll see you tomorrow with more Direct Sports Daily.
This has been another episode of Direct Sports Daily. Thanks for listening, and to keep up with the show, follow us on Twitter at the DSD Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio, or visit our website, www.directsportsdaily.com.
Okay.